open the Coventry Parish Council meeting. And I'll instate standing orders. And first item is 171, apologies for absence and reasons given.
Apologies to Stephen Johnson, he gives his apologies, and Jack Clark has accepted them as their acceptable reasons. And there's no Evelyn's not present, but no reason given.
Thank you. And item 172, Clerk's report.
We have a vacancy on Herne Ward, Grove Ward and 5 on Town Ward. We're waiting for confirmation that we can co-opt for the vacancies created by the resignations of Councillors P. Sparks and S. Favell. There has been some issues with roof sleepers in Park Road Cemetery. The police are aware and have this in hand. To answer the parishioner's question from last meeting, authorities do not use percentages to work out increases to the precept but a tax-based figure. This works out any increase to Band D property. Local authorities can increase the precept, but in real terms, the amount paid would decrease due to the increase in housing. In 2020-21, there were 3 employees, however, one was an apprentice on an apprentice salary, one was part-time and one full-time. For the year 21-22, there were 2 full-time employees, both on a full salary. With regard to the question of £27,000, we cannot answer this question due to data protection laws. We trust this answers the questions.
Thank you. So, item 173, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with requirements of the Locals Act 2011 and consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in gender items. Does anybody have any? No? Okay.
Madam Chairman, on 117, move straight on from it. You didn't ask for comments from the councillors.
There's no opportunity to comment. It's the clerk's report. The report is delivered.
Okay, fine.
Unless it says to discuss on the agenda item, we don't discuss.
Okay.
So, item 174, minutes of the previous meeting, to resolve to approve the notes of the meeting of 14th February 2022 as minutes. So, has everybody read them? Yeah?
No, couldn't find them. Checked on my thing, but with all the help from the ex-councillor, still can't find them. I haven't read these minutes and I'm definitely not prepared to approve them until I read them.
Okay.
They all went out in a group email.
Never read it.
Well, we all got it.
Well, we all got it. Does everybody get it?
Yes.
Yes, I got it.
Everybody got it, yeah. Okay, can I have a copy then? I'll read it.
Have you contacted the clerk to ask for a copy?
I tried today. I went in there today.
Have you emailed using the clerk at email address available on the website?
Well, I went to the office and Jan apparently is off sick today.
He has COVID.
And thereafter, I went to the office of the chairman of the council.
You went to his workplace.
And his workplace, and he was unavailable. So I had no way of getting up. So then I approached the ex-councillor and asked where it was on the OneDrive, and it wasn't there either. And we went through all the things, couldn't find it.
Oh.
So I still haven't got the minutes. And there are matters arising from those minutes that I didn't have them.
Mark?
If you're happy for me to, I will forward them on via email now.
Yes, you can do, but if you do have any problems in future, use the clerk at email address because there will always be somebody who will respond. So not going to the office is not necessarily the best way of dealing with it. But can we please move on with the agenda?
Madam Chairman, it'll be difficult to move on the agenda because there's matters going to arise that meeting, including a potential complaint for a breach of confidentiality by a council employee, a serious breach of confidentiality. Therefore, I think we need to turn to this, leaving aside issues to do with the personal attack upon myself that was conducted in this place.
The items you want to discuss are closed session items. If you would like to propose to move the item into closed session, you can propose that, but somebody will have to second and we'll have to agree. So would you like to propose that?
Okay, propose go with closed session.
Do we have a seconder for that item?
I'll second it. We need to get it sorted.
Does everybody agree? Well, we currently have a vote. As chairman, I do have a casting vote, and I would object to that. So, can we please move on with the agenda item?
Well, I question how you can object to that, given that yourself was the issue involved.
You can't discuss closed session items during a public meeting.
This is understood,
Yes.
which I haven't discussed the closed session on.
Well, you
I've
are.
referred to issues that have occurred that need resolving, and fellow councillors agreed it needs resolving. So therefore I'm going to do this.
Well,
Because
it's,
a serious matters arising, we've just had two very important councillors who've just resigned, and we're not prepared to discuss why they resigned, and we need to get to the bottom of this.
Isabel.
Which minutes are you actually referring to, Tim? Because you seem to be talking about a set of minutes that is not the 14th of February.
I'm talking about the ones, yeah, I'm talking about the one at our last meeting. Here,
The last meeting that you attended.
yes.
So if you've had a whole month to be able to obtain these minutes, so why have you not managed to obtain the minutes in a month?
Well, I'm not being able to attend it because they haven't been on the OneDrive.
Well, they are
They
on the OneDrive. They're in
Well, do you want to
there.
show me? Because they're not on mine.
Code of monthly meetings.
Go for it.
No, I know they are. I know they
Here's
are.
my tablet.
I've got one myself.
Have
Right.
you?
Here's my tablet. Tell me where they are.
Right.
Because I couldn't find them.
Have you got the meeting minute, the documents for tonight's meeting?
I have got the agenda.
No.
I've got the...
Have you got tonight's documents on your drive, open and ready to look at for tonight's meeting? All the documentation which was sent out in a link on Thursday, Karen?
I think it's Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday.
So all of those documents are sent out in an email link to everybody on Thursday. So unless you did not receive that email, you have got
Right.
the minutes
Hold
on
on a
that.
second. Hold on a
link.
second. Because, are you talking about this SharePoint document?
Yes?
Right, okay. When I punch that up, I get minutes from, well, again, can't even get it up.
Well, you won't have Wi-Fi here, will you?
I've got Wi-Fi on my phone. The problem is that I haven't had these things, and I've sought to try and access these because they are very important.
You sought to try and access these
Yes.
today, the day of the meeting. Are you allowing us to able to move on with the meeting given that we're taking this to a vote?
Well, of course, yeah, we're going to move on
Yeah.
with the meeting, I fully understand. But we have issues here. We've got communication issues, we've got confidentiality issues, and they need to be addressed.
But can we move on with the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so 174, minutes of the previous meeting. To resolve to approve the notes of the meeting 14th February 2022 is minutes. Do I have a proposal and a seconder, please? Thank you. All agreed. So, item 175, police, county and district matters. Item A, to receive a report from the police.
Police report will be in Tesco's between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock on the 10th of March and in the library from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Wednesday the 16th of March. This is for the public to engage with me and to discuss any issues they have or ask for advice. We shall be back home in the refurbished Holbeach Police Station on the 31st of March. We have had a spate of thefts of transit tyres, vans and trailers in the area. This week we have received reports of residential burglaries in rural locations, Watlow Drove and Holbeach Fen. We urge members of the community to report any suspicious vehicles. Stolen vehicles are often left in car parks and on residential streets for a few days before the offenders come back to pick them up, just in case the vehicles have trackers on them, which they have been unable to find. Any random vehicles parked up which is out of character can be reported via the 101 number and we can check them out.
Thank you. So to receive a report from the County Council, we haven't received a written report, but as the Council Task is here today, I'll invite her to deliver that.
Thanks, Chair. So in regards to just a couple of bits and pieces, in regards to County Council, I'm meeting highways officers in late March, trying to get the yellow lines in the High Street kind of pushed through a little bit more. Obviously, I said last time that TROs are incredibly delayed, so meeting late March to try and get that kind of moved along a little bit earlier. Again, early April, again, meeting in regards to a number of other highways matters. There's been a few conversations ongoing with officers and also with the schools, just seeing if there is any improvements that can be done from a safety point of view outside Boston Road School. Obviously, they've been without a lollipop lady for quite some time now, so just seeing if there's any other areas that can be improved there, and also some conversations in regards to the Sustainable Transport Action Plan. Again, that's in relation to schools, bike schemes, travel trainers, travel plans, all of that kind of thing. So just making sure Holwich schools are really in the best place, and if there's anything else we can do to support them. If you're happy, I'll go straight into district.
Yeah.
Thank you. So in regards to District Council, we are putting together an app which is promoting all of the towns in the all of the businesses in the high street, but it's also going to have a community section, an event section, useful numbers section, that kind of thing. So if there's anything you want to send through to be considered to put in there, please do get it to me and get it to me ASAP, because we're going to go live pretty much at the end of the month on that. And then we're obviously going to keep updating. There will also be a video completed this week, which will be a Welcome to Holbeach video, so that will be done later on this week. Hanging basket letters, inviting businesses to hanging baskets. Those letters have now gone out, and a number of businesses have already taken up the offer of that. And in regards to the Rock School bus, Amber approached obviously a number of people. I have secured a location for her in Holbeach with that. I believe she's now filled all her locations, but I can't say for sure on that, but I know at least one. We've definitely got one in Holbeach. And some really positive feedback from the businesses in regards to business advisor sessions. There is still opportunity for a few more over the last 2 weeks. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Can I just ask Councillor Carr a quick question? Are you aware that Boston Road South apparently is sinking again?
Boston Road South, absolutely. So obviously Western Power have been down there.
Yes.
They've reinstated the road. There's highways officers go every single week,
Yeah,
and it will be a case of keep topping and go from there. The other option would be stick concrete. It's not an option because of the utilities.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Just whilst we're on that, when is your next meeting with the police that you will be having? Because I believe
Saturday.
Okay, I think there's a few issues that have cropped up that we need to forward on with that.
Yeah, with them Saturday.
Yeah,
So,
brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, moving on to item 176, Open Spaces Committee. To put any interested members to the committee, do we have any interested members? No? Okay, so we'll move on to item A, to receive the report from Chairman Councillor Arthur.
Okay, thank you. It was decided to only give out keys to the park for groups what are actually staying there overnight. This is for health and safety reasons. We're experiencing an unwanted level of antisocial behaviour, like you just touched on, across our sites. Following the notification, we have been awarded a grant and we're actively looking at a slide replacement for Carter's Park. We're looking at signage for the memorial wall at Hallgate Cemetery. We're going to be purchasing the plants for the closed churchyard shortly and we'll be planting up. The clerk has completed her allotment training. That's about it.
Thank you. Right, item B, to resolve to agree the clerk having delegated powers to sign for an ashes exhumation. So obviously this is extraordinary circumstances, and in these circumstances it's better to get that done with delegated powers than have to bring it to full council each time. So do I have a proposal and a second of that? Yep, and all agreed? Thank you.
I will add, we need to amend our policy for this.
We'll get that amended in April. So item C, to resolve to agree the cost of an ashes exhumation. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Rachel?
Obviously, we have a fee for interring. Obviously, with the exhumation, a member of staff does have to be present. So I think around a figure of £100. And obviously, depending on circumstances, because obviously we have the criteria of doubling it if they're not from our area and all this business. It's going to have to be on a one-to-one basis, but I think a flat fee of £100 is my thoughts.
Does anybody have any other thoughts, or are we happy to go with that proposal?
I'm happy with that.
Well, bearing in mind it is £70 because
And it's Jan that has to do that.
Yes.
So do you have a seconder for that? Yeah, all agreed? Brilliant, thank you. So D, to resolve to agree to fund back the maintenance of the beacon area to SHDC. So following on from our last meeting when we discussed that, we did get feedback back from SHDC. They would not be willing to reimburse us for us cutting it ourselves, but they are more than willing to take it back. And they would be averaging around 10 to 12 cuts per season, and currently we've budgeted for about 16 cuts. So, any thoughts on it, or are we happy to propose? Rachel?
After obviously reading the letter we got back, obviously my concerns were it's not being maintained, so that's why I want to keep it in-house. If they're assuring us that it's going to be maintained the same rotation as they do in the other areas, I've never heard any problems from the other areas, so I'm more than happy with the response.
So, any other comments, or do we have a proposal and second for that?
Opposed?
Yeah, Mark, Rick, everybody agreed? Thank you. Right, item E, to resolve to agree a film company using Carter's Park as a location on Sunday 24th of April. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
I did speak to the gentleman in question.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They would like to use the park one evening. It will be a later session. So obviously this is where we need to agree and obviously speak to our locking up service, but I'm quite willing to lock it up myself after the shoot. They are working very closely with the police because it is going to be a tricky scene. So there will be shouting and screaming and such like, but they are liaising very closely with the police, so the police will be aware if a resident rings in telling them hearing screaming from the park, so they're covering all the angles they possibly can. So I think we should back these 100%. They do really good work for Holbeach.
And by the looks of the timings, it is within the normal hours of our locking up service. Obviously within the range.
A little bit late.
Run a bit late, okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a comment, or are we happy to propose that? No?
I'll
Propose
propose
it?
it.
Seconder? Thank you. All agreed? Okay. Item F, to resolve to agree the procedure as recommended by the ICCM for placing of memorials on graves with more than one family occupant. Did you want to explain on?
Well, yes, or you can Councillor Stevenson, because obviously he did the work on it.
Stevenson.
Councillor Stevens, do you want to explain what you
I
know in your
will.
training?
Rachel Allen.
Oh, really?
So the recommendation from the people who run the ICCM course is that in the case of multiple burials in the same plot, if somebody wants to come along at a later stage and ask for a memorial, cross, stone or whatever to go on there, it's only polite that we contact the other members of the family for the other interments. Unfortunately, this could have happened many, many years ago. There's reasons why you wouldn't want to contact them on the phone and via the post, so the suggested route is to put a sign on that grave to say that somebody has applied to install a memorial and leave it up there for at least a year and a day. And if there's no objections, then you can go ahead with the applicant's original request. If there's one objection, then it gets squashed totally. It's either everybody for or nobody goes.
I think it's quite reasonable.
Just on that, is there then a facility, because I know when we initially spoke about this at the last council meeting, it was, the comment was made about a temporary wooden cross fading quite quickly and such like, so it being going up over to more of a memorial. Would it then be worth, if on a case-by-case basis, that a temporary cross is put on in the interim, or is it just got to be left up?
You have to leave it totally clear with that notice on there for a year and a day. And again, it's case by case as well, whether they want a cross or a stone. I know in this case, the grandmother has requested in her will that it's a cross, so we shouldn't really go against that. But review each one as and when they come in. I don't foresee there going to be many.
So that is the recommended procedure by the ICCM. Are we all happy to propose that? Yeah, propose in a second. All agree? Thank you.
And I think there's something else to add to our policy.
Another thing to add to the policy, grateful, yes, thank you, Rachel. So item G, to resolve to revoke the allotment policy from the 11th of April 2022.
I don't know anything about this.
So that's because the allotment rules and regulations which have been draft agreed at open spaces will be coming in from April if they're agreed at council, and technically it's a different policy. So you revoke one and adopt a new one, if that makes sense. So do we have a proposal or second of that?
Does that leave us a month without a policy then?
No, because it's from 11th of April, so the other one will come in on the same day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Second? Yeah, all agreed? Thank you. H, to resolve to agree to remove the post on the path in Park Road Cemetery.
None of Sam White's on the agenda. It's pure and simple, it needs taken out. So I thought we'd arrange that.
Is everybody in agreement? Propose a seconder? Yeah. All agreed? Yeah. Thank you. So, item 117, Planning, Properties, Emergency Planning and Speeding Committee, to co-opt any interested members to the committee. Anybody interested in joining? Nope. Okay. So, item A, to receive the report from a member of the committee. Mark, would you like to do that?
Yep, it's not a report as such, but due to the resignation of Councillor Farrell, we discussed at the last planning committee all of the planning applications that had come in and passed those over. It was discussed about the SID placements, but again, obviously, due to the resignation of Councillor Sparks, that's going to go to the next planning committee, planning and speeding committee, to agree the way forward on that. And that was all really that was discussed, other than the emergency plan, which is later on the agenda.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Item B, to resolve to approve the planning application. So I believe the majority of the proposed comments were no objection, apart from 3 or so. So we have H090165, yeah, 22 was no objection. So the ones with objections are H09018022, modification of 106 agreement to omit 8 two-bed dwellings. That was on Wignall's Wood.
So long.
So the proposal was to object to the reduction of unaffordable housing. We then had H09014322, proposed dwelling. There were concerns that this was agreed, that if this was agreed, then it will open the floodgates. And H09023322, extension and conversion of the existing garage. The comment was that it believes it should be a self-contained annex, not a separate dwelling. And the rest of the applications on there were proposed, no objection. Is everybody happy to propose that? Yeah. Seconder? All agreed? Thank you. Item C, to resolve to agree to adopt the emergency plan volunteers as volunteers of the council. So as soon as we get volunteers that want to come through, they'll be receiving the volunteer policy and be covered under our insurance. Does everybody propose and seconder? Yeah. All agreed? Thank you. And item D, to receive an update on the emergency plan from Councillor Henry.
Okay, so we received the training from Lincolnshire Emergency Services about how the emergency plan should be in place. We have drawn up a draft copy focusing at 3 locations, so mainly Holwich as a centre point, so if any emergency was to happen in Holwich, detailing what the safe spaces would be, and any areas where we would have vulnerable people that we would need to focus on. The same if there was an incident, for instance, down at Holwich St Mark's or Holwich Grove, having, again, Holwich Town as the area of a safe space wouldn't really be feasible in that context. So, again, we've looked at that and said safe spaces both at Holwich St John's, Holwich Grove, and again, we just need to look at the Holwich Herne, Holwich St Mark's areas. Once that's done, then it will be put forward for co-option as a policy. Once agreed, the full council that will then go forward and make part of the plan with Lincolnshire Emergency Services as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for all your work on that. So 178 PR and IT Committee. Item A is to receive the report by Chairman Councillor Peter Carter.
Thank you. One or two updates. The calendar photography competition. We've had 8 local businesses sponsor us so far. I've delivered a few more sponsorship forms, hoping to get a little bit more support. We've had 11 entries so far, and we have chosen 3 judges. Regarding the Youth Council, we're in the process of arranging a date when some of the councils will be visiting the academy to meet some of the students that might be interested in becoming involved. Councillor biographies, two are outstanding. Notice boards, I've been given permission to use the Village Hall notice board in Holbeach St John's, and I've put up our calendar competition poster and one about our councillor vacancies. We've purchased a new notice board for Holbeach Grove, and we're awaiting confirmation of where we can install it. That's on the agenda shortly. The Village Voice will be printing our Easter event and the Jubilee celebrations in next month's edition, and the Jubilee plans have also been sent to the Free Press and the Voice. Holbeach Parish Council forums. Councillors Flood, Murphy and former councillor Favell attended the last forum in Holbeach Herne and interacted with some of the parishioners. We hope to hold the next one, I said at the end of March, but it will be actually the 3rd of April at Holbeach St John's Village Hall. Time to be confirmed. We discussed antivirus software, which we thought should be installed on all tablets used by councillors, and this will be done by Councillor Stevens with a V. And it was also resolved to agree that we should change our passwords every 3 months. This will be managed by the clerk, who will remind everyone when this should be done. A couple of our items for discussion. A reminder to all councillors that they are required to respond to emails that they receive regarding council business within 48 hours, and that they must read all the supporting documents prior to any meetings they attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So item B is to resolve to agree that request permission to site a notice board on the shop/filling station in Holwich Grove.
I have done that already, and we have permission from the owner.
Okay. So just to formalise that, do we propose and seconder? Yep. All agreed? Thank you. So item C, to receive an update on councillor biographies.
Yeah, 2 missing.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Peter. So if those people who haven't done biographies, if you can get them to Peter or the clerk as soon as possible, then they can go up on the website. So item D, to resolve to agree to hold a forum on Sunday the 27th of March at the Village Hall in Holwich St John's, and who will attend. So
It was planned to actually hold it, they have a Sunday lunch club once a month, which is organised by the church. They usually have 80 or 90 people, that either 2 or 3 of us could actually attend that or go before or afterwards. We could decide who would like to volunteer to do that, apart from myself.
So are we amending the agenda item to the 3rd of April instead of
Yes.
27th of March? Okay.
Please.
Could I have a proposer to amend it? Mark? Yeah, Rick? All agreed? And then a proposer for the amended agenda item, which would be to resolve to agree to hold a forum on the 3rd of April at the Village Hall at Holwich St John's, and who will attend. Yeah. seconder? Are we working out who's attending? Or,
You would be good to, yes.
yeah? Does anybody have any volunteers? Yeah?
I will, yes.
I mean, I,
I think you should.
yeah, as St John's Wood, yeah.
You can't pay for your lunch either.
Do we actually want to, because I can book the lunch if we actually want to attend the lunch.
Why not?
Yeah.
Take
I think
time.
that would be good. I think it would be difficult just to wander in,
Just stand there.
yeah, and just stand there.
Yeah, well, that lunch, why not?
So I can, actually, I spoke to my neighbour today, I can book the places for free.
Mhm.
I don't know what the cost is, but I'll cover that.
No. Cover our own company.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
And that's at 1 o'clock on the 3rd.
1 o'clock. Proposing something for that then?
Opposed?
All agreed. Thank you. So, item E, to resolve to agree to revoke the following policies with effect from the 11th of April 2022. Internet usage policy, tablet usage policy and printed notices policy.
I think we should.
Yeah, so the reason for revoking these is because they have been combined into other policies, so they're not relevant anymore on their own. Do I have a proposer and a seconder? Yeah. All agree? Thank you. Agenda item 179, Events Committee. Received a report from Chairman and Councillor Isabel Richardson.
Right. At our last meeting, we focused on Jubilee celebrations on the 2nd and 4th of June. The beacon will be lit on the 2nd of June with the assistance of the Royal Observer Corps, and it was agreed to keep the event small to allow for public safety. We have had a meeting with a representative from the Royal Observer Corps to go through the details, and we are in the process of completing all the relevant paperwork. On 4th of June, a family fun day will be held between 11 and 4, centred around Church Street. We have various activities for children arranged and entertaining adults throughout the day. The event will start with a tractor run and end with the wheelbarrow race, and there will also be an exhibition of memorabilia in the reading rooms kindly organised by Lyndon Secker. I've amended my report because we have had a meeting today with SAG, so we have been through various scenarios, and we are now able to go away and start completing the paperwork for that event. We have our Easter Duck Hunt coming up on the 16th of April between 10 and 2, and details will be coming out in the next week or so as to where you can get entry forms from and where to collect the sweets from after you complete the hunt. And we may combine this event with a planting day as well. The car show is pretty much organised, and entries are still coming in. And again, we have discussed this with SAG today and now can start on the paperwork for that. Remembrance is also underway, and more details will follow in the coming months. And we have set a date for a Christmas event, which we're hoping will be on the 3rd of December, and more details for that event will follow in the next few months.
Thank you. So item B, to resolve to agree to adopt the partners of councillors I. Hutchinson, R. Stevens and the clerk as basic maintenance and marshalling volunteers of Holwich Parish Council. Again, they'll receive our volunteer policy. They'll only be able to do things that are agreed by council, obviously, and then that will just cover them under their insurance whilst marshalling, etc. I would like to just amend the agenda item to include the partners of our assistant clerk, or partners of our assistant clerk, sorry, as well, if everybody's happy. Proposing a seconder from that amendment. All agreed to amend the agenda item? And a proposer and a seconder for the amended agenda item. All agreed. Thank you. Item C, to resolve to agree the spending for Jubilee and the car show. So the proposed spending for that was in the drive. Would you like to just go through?
Yeah, I'll just do that. Basically, we have budgeted for £5,000 in total for all of our events throughout the year. So we were just trying to firm up some of the costings around Jubilee and the car show so that we know what we've got left to spend. So I won't go through all the details of exactly what the spends are on, but in total it comes to around about 2,700, but some of those figures are still to be confirmed. So we're around about half of the budget on those two events.
And we will be looking to reimburse our costs during the event as well,
Yeah.
or partially reimburse. So do I have a proposal and a seconder for that? Rick, Mark, all agreed? Thank you. Item D, to resolve to agree the traffic management for the 4th of June. Would you like to explain?
Yes, traffic management. We have been waiting for another quotation, but it hasn't come through. So basically, we have had one quote for the traffic management for the diversion route for the event. The actual road closure we can manage ourselves, but the diversion route we need traffic management to do that. So we just need to agree that we can action that.
Proposal and seconder for that?
Are there any costing implications for the traffic management?
Yes, there are, but kindly Councillor Carter is funding that through her district budget.
Okay, that's fine.
So all agreed? Yeah, thank you. So, item 180, Finance Committee, to receive the report from the Chairman, Councillor Rick Stevens.
Hi, good evening everybody. Apart from the normal approval of payments, etc. and checking of invoices, the Finance Committee agreed to ask for extra funding for the new parks trailer. This was because the one I sourced originally wasn't going to be future-proof. Colin had asked for a trailer that had to be in excess of 60 inches wide, because that's the average size of a blade on a lawnmower, motorised lawnmower obviously. So I've gone back to the original people. They've got one for us, which we've actually ordered, but we need to spend an extra £699. And the plan is in sometime in the future, we would get rid of the oldest Kabuto and replace it with a zero-turn mower, which would help no engine parts. We reviewed the financial spend versus budget and noted that some areas have costs greater than the original budget. The overspend mainly relates to the cost of asbestos in the allotment. And I'm also pleased to say that since the procurement policy was rolled out, overall we could be looking at having a surplus budget at the end of the financial year. This will be clarified after the financial year end. And we discussed potentially using some of it to stock up on our reserves, or build up our reserves. Some extra funding for the Jubilee Garden, the slide replacement, and the purchase of a zero-turn mower.
Thank you, Rick. So, item B, to resolve to agree the financial statement and payments list. You want to say anything on?
Payments list is 28,103, and the bank balance is 169,636, 93p.
Do we have a proposal and a second for that? All agreed? Thank you. Item C, to resolve to agree to give delegated powers to the Chairman of the Council and the Clerk to be able to jointly remove as signatories with Barclays Bank and CCLA members who resigned from the Council without prior consent of the Council. So fairly self-explanatory. It's members who have already left the Council just to make sure they can no longer access the accounts. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Vote on second. All agreed? Thank you. Item D, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee to cover the costs of the maintenance of the defibrillator at Oldwich Drove. Peter, would you like to?
Yes, Paul Redgate suggested a defibrillator that we could buy. Unfortunately, that's not available, is out of stock. I contacted Lincolnshire Lies today and got a quote. I gave the paperwork to Rick, which has got a breakdown.
The breakdown of the costs if you want them. So excluding that, we would be looking at, with a service contract, a total fee of approximately £270 per year. Batteries need to be changed every 4 years, unless it's been used quite a lot into it, obviously. But for that £180, they'll come out and service it, do anything that needs doing to it. The only extra cost on top would be if the battery's got to be replaced, all the electrodes will be changing.
Do you want to know the cost of the defibrillator itself? No, it's not on
I mean, the
agenda.
local district councils are covering that in their
They
budget,
are,
aren't
yes.
they?
Yeah,
So,
They
yeah,
are.
which is very kind of them. So if we're all happy with those quotes, are we happy to?
That's fine, just one question. Does every village have its own defibrillator?
I think Holbridge Grove is the only one in our parish that doesn't have one.
Yeah,
All right, fair enough. So
I think that was the only one that didn't have
Fair
one
enough.
currently. Yeah. Proposing a second for that? Yeah. All agreed? Thank you. Item E, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the additional spend for the trailer, which Rick has already just touched on.
£699, please.
Proposal? Yeah, second. All agreed? Thank you. Item F, to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee and internal auditor to move the COIF and treasury stock accounts into assets. Do you want to explain, or is it self-explanatory?
Well, to be honest, it should have been done years ago. We've just been showing it in the cash book accounts in effect, that they should go into assets because they're an asset to the council. And that's the official financial way of showing them, so it has to be done.
Proposal and second for that? Rick? All in favour? Thank you. So item 181, to resolve to agree to elect a safeguarding officer following the resignation of former councillor S. Favell. Now, I would like to propose our new assistant Karen, as she has got previous experience in schools, and I'm sure we'll all support her in that role in any way we can. So,
Would Karen be agreeable to do it then?
I'm going to this.
Okay.
I did check before proposing that.
I'll take it.
Seconder, yeah, all agreed? Thank you. Item 182, to resolve to agree the way forward with the application from Rock School Bus NHS Prevention Suicide Funding. Obviously, Council Carter's already touched on this. We have got a location in Holbeach. Are they looking for any more locations in Holbeach, or shall we move on?
Potentially, I would say, if I'm allowed to speak, sorry. Yes. Potentially, I would say move on. Basically, the one I've sorted out is going to be the community centre. I was looking at Tesco's backing on. When I went back to her the weekend and said I still haven't got that second one agreed, she said I'm pretty much there.
Yeah.
So I would say that is where it's at on that. Yeah.
So, because of that, are we happy to propose we remove that from the agenda then?
Yes.
Yeah. Rachel, seconder, Mark, all agreed? Thank you. Okay, to resolve to exclude the press and public under the Public Bodies Admissions to Meeting Act 1960 due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted for agenda items 183. Do I have a proposer and seconder to take that into closed session? Yep, Rick and Mark, all agreed? Thank you. And now I'd just like to propose to reorder the agenda to move item 183 to the end of the agenda, please. Could I have a seconder? Rick, all agreed? Thank you. So, item 184, agenda item requests. Do we have any requests now?
Regarding the defibrillator again, do we put that on the next full council meeting to agree to actually purchase and cite it?
We'll have to pay, sorry, like
Yeah.
we'll obviously have to pay for an electrician to get it fitted, won't we?
Do you think we might be able to persuade a local company to do it
I'm sure we can.
for nothing?
Well, not that for nothing, but it's worth a try at least, isn't it?
I mean, Redgate's very keen, for the press to be involved with this,
Okay.
and I just thought maybe we could approach.
Councillor Isabel has a contact for the electrician, hasn't he? Steve
I've
Williams?
got one or two
Yeah.
that we can contact.
So if we look into that, and then it could probably go to another committee meeting to speed things up if it needs to be agreed.
I mean, the funding's there for the
Yeah.
defibrillator. It
Yeah,
seems
and we've agreed the running costs. so-
pointless waiting any longer, otherwise, the budget may disappear
Yeah,
somewhere else.
I think personally just go ahead and do it.
Well, I will speak to the owner of the stores again, but I mean, she's already agreed.
Mhm.
But we have to discuss with her about where it's put and how it's wired in.
Mhm.
It's going to involve doing a whole through all, I think.
Okay, so we'll look into that and then we'll correspond via email to see if there's anything else we need to do.
Madam Chair, we're bringing things back to the minutes issue.
Yep.
These minutes were apparently emailed to me on the 11th of March, which is only about 4 days ago. I've been over in Liverpool all weekend, so therefore I was able to keep them in any case. However, even then, we seem to have agreed the minutes of this meeting, but there's no minutes on there relating to the closed session within the meeting.
So are you requesting an agenda item or are you just bringing up a general point? Because it is agenda item requests is the item that we're discussing.
Well, these has come up, therefore the issue is that we have approved a set of minutes which aren't there.
So would you like to request that as an agenda item for the next meeting?
I think we need to.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
So we'll put that into closed session for the next meeting. Any other agenda item requests? No? Okay. So item 185, confirm a date and venue of the next parish council meeting. The next parish council meeting date is the 11th of April 2022 at 7 o'clock at Methodist Hall, Albert Street. Yep.
Sorry, going back to the item before, am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's just about holding parish council meetings out in wards. We did talk about this before. Can we put that
Put that on the next agenda, yeah.
please?
So
We have to do for next year's meetings though, because this year's have already been scheduled.
up till October, we've already been
Yes,
scheduled.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
thought we was holding back on scheduling them until we've spoken to the individuals.
The meeting dates get agreed every year for October. Yes.
You've agreed the meeting dates.
Dates.
But not the location,
Location,
yeah.
so you can
We can
alter the
alter the
location or
location.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
One other point with that is, going back to my
Agenda item request, yeah.
own knowledge, Holby St John's are very happy to rent the hall for us, £12 an hour, but they don't have Wi-Fi. Is that a huge issue? I did sort of talk to Jan a little bit about it and she felt it might be.
It would just be having to make sure that we've got the documents, etc. downloaded prior to
Yeah.
going out there. But if we put it on the next agenda, then we can discuss all of our options and agree locations, yes.
I'm going to tell you if
If it becomes an issue and it's definitely that we need Wi-Fi, then I'm happy to set up a hotspot on my phone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to 185. Shall we?
Thank you.
Let's go. Happy with that date and venue? And I'll